Okay, I'm Chris Dorr, author of the book Guide to the Conspiracy. I'm here with Benjamin Fulford. You can find him at benjaminfulford.com, and Cobra.
BenjaminFulford.net.
.net, yes, true. Sorry. And Cobra, you can find him at 2012portal.blogspot.com. Hi, Ben. Hi, Cobra.
Hello.
Hello.
I want to start with Ben explaining the current situation of the world and the solutions to this moment in time, and then continuing with Cobra explaining the current situation of the world and the solutions. Then you could ask both of you questions you feel guided to ask to each other. Hi, Ben, please explain us a little bit of the situation of the world and the probable solutions.
Well, what's happened is that the United States has gone bankrupt, and the architecture that was built centered around the United States after World War II needs to be completely changed. So we need a new Bretton Woods conference to set up a new international architecture so that we can have the world live as a global village instead of a dictatorship run by a secret Satan worshiping elite. And that's what we're working towards. But for now, we have to wait until the United States collapses. And that's happening very fast, as you can see from news events. The United States has become clinically insane under the fake Donald Trump. He's just talked about using the Insurrection Act, which means the martial law, and using American soldiers against American citizens. He says that we don't need midterm elections. He's got IDF agents pretending to be immigration and customs enforcement or ICE agents killing American citizens. So it is the end game, and I'm pretty sure the military white hats are aware that he has become clinically insane and will be removed. And once that happens, then we can have these new Bretton Woods negotiations and work out a peaceful settlement. And it will involve some sort of a jubilee or a one-off cancellation of debt and redistribution of assets. And then we set up new systems for managing the economies of the West so that China doesn't keep outgrowing us into insignificance. That's the basic summary. So what's happened is that the old U.S.-centric world is ending and a polycentric world is being born, but the people who benefited from the U.S.-centric world are fighting to the last to prevent this from happening. But it will happen. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Can you explain us, Cobra, the situation of the world and the probable solutions?
Yes, situation on the surface of this planet is reaching a climax. It's accumulated tension which has been accumulated for decades and is about to reach its peak and a resolution. The tension which is being presented worldwide right now is it has caused its long in the past in human history. And because many of those situations have not been addressed, they have not been resolved, they have been accumulating. And this does not pertain to any particular country. It's a global phenomenon. Everything that has not been corrected in human society, everything that has gone wrong has now erupted. Because planet Earth is part of a cosmic transformation, and I would say the cosmic purification mechanism has reached the surface of the planet. So everything that has been hidden, all the corruption, everything that had been wrong with the old system is being exposed to be transformed. And there are it's always a mixture. Every human being has good and bad inside. And in this particular time, it is very important to really work on your connection with your higher self and to transmute your own inner shadow. And then those of us who are working for the light can network, can connect, can cooperate. Because the other side was always knew how to cooperate. Although they didn't agree with each other, they basically hated each other, they always knew how to cooperate. And that was the strength of the old networks that were running the show on the planet. But right now, it's a time for a different kind of network to be born, and that's a positive network. The vision for this has been present in the human psyche for at least 1 century. There were always people, visionaries, people who were dreaming of a new world, have been explaining and designing principles of the new world. But this has been always a fantasy, something that will happen at some point in the future. Now we have reached a point as a collective, as a human society, to start manifesting those principles. And the global situation is just a reflection of what's happening everywhere. It's happening in every human being. So what we can do now is to go through that inner transformation and then network as a sovereign beings of light to create that change. And it is not just geopolitical. Every human being is having the same experience, basically the same experience. It's part of a cosmic transformation which needs to happen, and there is no way out. We have to go through this.
I agree that it's something that's also very personal, because everybody can do something in their own lives to make things better. Be nice to their neighbors, whatever it is that's closest to you. Make sure that is all right. And if everyone does that, then the whole world will be transformed. So Cobra is right in saying this is also a spiritual thing. And I would add, I think that the monotheistic system of a single central controller is coming to an end, and it's going to be replaced by something that's more like an ecosystem or a village than a single all-powerful controller in the center of things, like this eye on the pyramid. That sort of system is going to end.
Okay, here I can add that there are 2 layers of this transformation. The society layer, I agree with Ben, the monotheistic religions will simply have to collapse because we will no longer need an intermediary. Of course, the Kabbalah is planning an IA religion worshipping technology, but this is not going to work. But I would say those who are on a spiritual path, the mystery schools will open for those who are ready. And for the rest of humanity, people will begin to start to learn to connect with their own higher self, and they will start to learn to live with each other more peacefully. And when enough of that awareness is on the planet, wars will simply no longer be possible. Tyrannical regimes will no longer be possible because there will be enough awareness to prevent this. One example is the recent coronavirus scam, which has tried to control humanity. When a critical mass of humans rose up against this tyranny, it had to end. In some instances, it ended immediately. The coronavirus, all those lockdowns in certain countries ended overnight when enough people protested against them. So this is something that we will see a lot in the near future. And later, if there is time in this interview, I will talk about the extraterrestrial part of this equation, because we are not alone. The human race is not isolated in a small corner of the universe. It was artificially isolated for a long time, but this quarantine is about to end. And we will suddenly realize that we are not alone in this universe. And this will be a large part of the equation.
Yeah, I agree that this planet is under some sort of quarantine, because you can see that there's been no space travel. We're blocked at the atmosphere. Something is preventing us from leaving the planet, and I believe it's because a very ancient and evil group has been quarantined on that planet. And if we overthrow them and remove them from power, then we will be allowed out into the universe. Definitely the quarantine on this planet will end. It's sort of like we don't let lions and tigers into big cities because they're dangerous. In the same way, we as a species practice military-industrial warfare, and as such, we cannot be allowed out into a peaceful universe because it would just be too dangerous. So that's what has to end. And when that does, then we'll be allowed to leave the planet and settle elsewhere in the universe.
Here I can add that people on the surface of the planet are not just one uniform human race. There are many beings from different races, some of them good, some of them bad, that have been infiltrated into the human society. And basically, the human society at the moment is controlled by negative extraterrestrial beings that have been incarnated into the human bodies, all the draconians, reptilians, negative Andromedans, all the Illuminati groups, all the black nobility groups. They are basically extraterrestrial, and they know this. It's in their lore, in their when a father of a dynasty gives instructions to the son, he tells him, "You are not from here." So people in the networks, they know that. So all that will be reshuffled, all that will be changed because this infection has to end. And the planet Earth is, I would say, the last cancerous cell that has to be restored and healed to join the galactic body of light.
Again, you don't have to actually invoke anything extraterrestrial because it is a fact that we have a ruling elite that uses fear. They stage events like 9/11 or the Fukushima attack or the pandemic to try to use fear to control us. And once they lose that control, then a system that's been in place for thousands of years that has prevented us from choosing our own future will be destroyed. So, it is true. These people do claim that they originally came from off planet, but even if you don't believe that, it doesn't matter, because the fact is that we have these elite collective group minds that have been using fear and control of money to hurt us in the direction they want instead of the direction we want. Because most people, what they want is a better life for themselves, for their family, for their neighbors, and for all the living creatures around them. But we have a ruling class whose only wish is to suck them up as much of that life force out of us in order to enrich themselves. And that's not a system that can continue forever. And this is a system that is now self-destructing.
Yes, basically it is a removal of the psychopaths from the top tiers of human society. And this can happen when a critical mass of humans understand that this is taking place, and people do understand because of the spread of internet in the last few decades. Many people have been educated, at least to a degree, what's really going on. And you cannot fool everybody for such a long time. All those controlling forces that were fooling humanity, this does not work anymore. And this is why they're trying to control the narrative. This is why all that talk of censorship, of blocking of alternative media, all that, because those people are afraid they will lose their power. And this is exactly what's going to happen. And here I would just have to say it's a cosmic transformation. Nobody can stop it. They can try to delay it. They have delayed it already for a few decades, which is very uncomfortable for most of us. But nevertheless, the change is going to happen regardless if anybody likes it or not. It's a cosmic transformation. It's a river which flows and nobody can stop it.
And here on the planet's surface, it's an economic and financial transformation. The ruling elite has lost control of the physical world. They no longer control the oil, the food, the precious metals. All they have is this illusionary thing called money, which they no longer have the ability to attach to real things. They're losing the ability to use this illusion called money to control the real world and real resources. And without their money, then they lose the ability to hire their armed men and their propagandists, and then the whole thing falls apart. And we're very, very close to the collapse of their financial control network. And that finance is the process. It's the psychological process of deciding what we as a species do in the future. And once they lose control of finance, then we can all get together and say, what kind of world do we want to build? What kind of future do we want? And I think most people agree we'd like to turn this place into heaven on earth. And it can be done.
Yes, it can be done, and it will be done. What is interesting about money is that the current financial system is basically a mental structure. It's an idea. And the only reason why it still works, why it still functions, is because people trust it to a degree. So what is happening with all this debt spiral going on worldwide is people are starting to lose confidence and trust in the fiat money, in all those funny papers, all those funny banknotes. And what it does, it reorients the consciousness of humanity back to the physical. So money, they demand, consciously or subconsciously, that money becomes physical again. And this is the reason why prices of gold and silver are skyrocketing. People need something tangible, something stable. And there are two conflicting narratives about how this financial system will transform. The bad guys have their own story, and we, the good guys, have our own story. The bad guys would like to create an alternative AI digital monetary system, everybody tied and glued to their phones. They are attempting this, but this will not work because technology is not ready and there are cracks in the matrix, as I would say. And the positive alternative is to tie the monetary system back to physical assets and boost real productivity. Real productivity is physical work, emotional investment, and mental inspiration. It's a combination of all those. And when that begins to rise, we can start building the new civilization. And this will be like a financial reset that will, it's like a reset in a computer game. You reset the whole thing and you start with new rules. And this is what is about to happen one way or the other on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, if the stock market went to zero and the dollar disappeared, no factories would disappear, no farmland would disappear, no people would disappear, no knowledge would disappear. All that would happen is that a psychological control system will end, and then we will come up with a better system that works for the majority and not for the 0.01%, as it is the case now. And this is happening. And the reason why their digital control grid or their digital prison they're trying to build won't work is because digital is not real. You can't eat digits. It's not food. It's not metal. It's not a car. And so it'll never be able to control the physical because the best it can do is reflect it. But the physical, the real world will always prevail. And that's what's happening. Okay, well, I don't. If there are no more questions, I think that's what I have to say for myself today.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Do you have something to add, Cobra?
I would just wish everybody to connect with their inner light and do not worry so much about when things are going to happen. We are in the process. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, but we are in the process. And the future of this planet is magnificent. This is what we are born for, and this is what is going to happen.
Yeah, we are definitely at the dawn of a golden age.
Beautiful.
Okay, well, nice talking, and nice to hear from you again, Cobra.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me.
Okay, bye.
Thank you both.
Okay, bye.
Have a nice day. Bye.